Thank you all very much for coming in tonight. So we are starting out the meeting. First off, I'd like to invite all of you to stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we're going to start out the meeting a little differently than normal. We're going to go immediately into a workshop on the proposed ordinance that the city's been working on as far as sewer connection. So I wanted to make sure that all of the facts were made available to you before we went into public comment. So that's where we have the breakout tables. We have a staff member that's going to be at your table. And we're going to go through all the facts, all the chart. We've got a flow chart to help you understand what we're working on, just so that we can all be on the same page as far as the facts go. So you have the opening presentation?
I think so. Hey, everybody. My name is Carolyn Swart. For you guys, anyone that doesn't know me, I'm your public works director. New Carl is my other name, maybe not so new. I've been in this role for about a year and a half now. And yeah, so we, the city has, city council has asked us to look at some different, so take a look at the 1972 sewer ordinance, given that we're now 50 years after that was first put into place. The city mission is really kind of about infrastructure, stewardship, development, just taking care of our citizens, being fiscally responsible, going with the times. And there's a couple, kind of big reasons why comprehensive plan might be something that's new to some of you, but it's actually a law that we put it together. So it's an RCW, which says the city basically needs to make sure that we're planning for the future. We've identified areas of future growth, and we're doing what we need to do to make sure that that growth is possible. In April 2013, we went ahead and adopted our comprehensive plan, and that's kind of where this idea of the urban reserve comes in. That is essentially like parts of the city where the comprehensive plan tells us to discourage growth until you have services there. Make sure that you have infrastructure available to support people who want to live there. The other kind of big reason for the change, right? Like, why are you guys doing this now? It's been 50 years. What's wrong with it? The other big change is the wastewater treatment plant and other big wastewater upgrade projects. A few years ago, before my time, we had a number of exceedances, and ecology said no more. City of Stevenson, like, you need to upgrade your plant. You need to upgrade your system so that you can treat the flows that you're getting. And they didn't say upgrade it to today's numbers. They said, go ahead and do your upgrades to make sure that you can plan for growth, right? Like, plan on all of your parcels having people in them, plan on all your shop fronts having restaurants and bars in them. Make sure that your facility is such that you can handle all the flows with all the different strengths when you plan your system. So we're in the process of an over $15 million upgrade. And currently the people who are paying for that are folks that are on sewer in the city. So part of the reason for this as well is to make sure that everyone's kind of trying to make it fair, right? So I feel like one of my duties as a slave to the public or a public representative is to make sure that I'm a voice for everybody in the city. And some of the folks in the city are paying pretty high sewer bills or sewer rates because they're paying for a system that's sized for everybody, and not everybody's connected, so not everyone's paying into it. So those are kind of the big whys. We'll get into the what here in a minute, but I know everyone probably doesn't want to listen to me talk. I certainly hate being up here. This isn't my favorite place to be, but what you have in front of you, kind of the goals for the workshop is to make sure that before you provide us comments, which we want, like, we really do want to hear what everybody thinks of of the ordinance. I know city council does for sure, like they're your representatives. We're here doing this for you, like there's not doing it for me. But we want to make sure that everyone is informed, they understand like what is, what's being proposed. Everyone in the city, every parcel in the city got sent a flyer. A lot of you guys are new faces, so this is the first time I've gotten a chance to talk with any of you. And I want to understand like what what is your dream project and how might this proposal affect you? Do you have to connect? Do you not connect? Will you be required to connect later? Like what's going to trigger that connection? So on each of the tables, there is a map. Some of you hopefully are familiar with it if you looked on the website or, stopped by when I wasn't here, which happens. The map is a map of the city. It shows the existing sewer system. Those are the lines in red. It shows there's kind of two big triggers, two big questions I think every parcel owner is going to want to ask themselves. Am I in the urban reserve? And am I within 300 feet? So we tried to make it really easy for folks to figure out, the answer to those questions by providing you a map. Sewer lines are in red. There's a gray kind of bubble around the red lines that depicts a 300-foot offset from the red line. And then also, am I in the urban reserve area? And those would be parcels that have a hatching over them. So like the diagonal hatching. So there's your map. If you're curious what the colors are for, the green, and this isn't necessarily perfect. There's a lot of parcels to keep track of. And so it's possible that some of the information on this is not exactly accurate. Please do share with me if you see that my parcel's wrong. It's not vacant, I'm on septic. But the red is vacant parcels that don't have any, that aren't connected to sewer or on a private septic system. The green parcels are ones that are connected to the public sewer system, and the blue are have their private septic systems on their parcel. So go ahead and take a look at that. But the other thing, think about your dream project, right? Like, do you plan to subdivide one day, or do you want to build an ADU, or do you really just need a re-roof? Think about that project, and then go ahead and there's a city staff person at each one of your tables. Anders is at the front. Yay, Anders. Liana's in the middle, and Ben's in the back, helping the folks in the back. I'm going to help this table and kind of float around as well, but work your way through the decision tree before you get too concerned. Think about your project and work your way through to see, are we asking everybody in the city to connect tomorrow? No, like that is not what the ordinance says. It's talks of, it's very specific in its criteria, and the decision tree should help you think about your own circumstance and what would be required if you wanted to do that project. But that being said, have fun.
We also have comment sheets on every table. If there aren't enough, just let me know. We can print out more.
So as the goal right now.
So you're not going to
Where is?
Yeah, it's under 10.
How are you? It's developed in other data at this point in our process. So
Yeah.
if you're developing that parking, you're providing.
The line, the bubble line of 313.
Yeah, okay.
Is this gray line? No, thanks. And so as a buffer, universal buffer estimated, trying to get as close as we could is this gray line. So if you are in between that red and that gray line, that's that 380. And those actually are the first.
So, yeah.
And then probably be required of.
So. Okay, so you could buy her. Who wants to start? We can go forward. How do you try to- You can walk through with their,
Map, but I am.
yeah, this was on the, in the council package as well. Hello. Okay. So.
May or may not be required.
So what is the impact if this ordinance passed?
But it's
The
gonna
impact
be you
for-
trying to.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, so it's right below. So,
Yeah.
I
Okay, so-
understand, but it's trying to pack a lot onto a small.
Yeah.
So if you are curious about barriers, I.
Okay, well, so I guess I just had a very. So what's your dream project? Why are we doing those projects? Part of that. Maybe that's not it, right? So you're not doing anything. So you're not doing anything.
I would love that.
So, okay, so, okay. So you don't have a parcel, it's not adding a number of dwelling units on your parcel. So you go down to the house.
Right.
So you need to replace part or all of your septic system failure. Yes. No, I mean, it's under repair. So.
It falls under the cigarette.
Okay, so we haven't addressed repair in the ordinance, so it is. But you could have our money back to anyone else. Well, yeah, technically, it's very, exactly, but I love that she have. So that's not even looked at it. But we're, right. Yeah. Now, Rick, you're outside of your market.
They should be there, but again, so properties on septic. So this is a septic property, and the red is developed property, we're not even connected to undeveloped. So yes, all of these are connected to this.
So we can go through sort of what the code currently stands, and I can give you a comment sheet. This is all. And you can talk to Steve.
City limits are the big black line. Yes.
Right, yeah. So the way that the law currently stands, if you need to alter your system, if your project is located.
Is that our
reserve? If- So the hatched area.
That area, so. I
And
don't have
then
a better.
the gray
In the house.
bubble around it is the restricted.
Identified
So if
by.
you're not in this hatched area, and if you're outside of this gray area,
Areas within city.
this lot right here.
I,
That's the Nicholas Road.
no, not necessarily. Because it would- the areas of infrastructure.
They're outside of the.
You wouldn't have to do that. So there would already be infrastructure there. That's the, so, the
Red light.
reserve is identified.
They have
areas
to,
there.
you have to shoot main line
Areas,
put up
infrastructure.
where come across.
Yep.
Or are you going to shoot other people's property? That, you're.
So again, that was.
It's it.
That-
Yeah, the bird is like-
It is great. It was done through a study. It's like-
And then these parcels in here are just.
This is not bad, and
So if you are.
Yeah. And just need the city and the agenda.
And that would be, right out of eight on Main. Yeah.
Right, so is that.
That's.
Okay, so
Everybody will pay. Sorry, enough to the.
So the big power. That's not in there. That's amazing. That was my.
I have.
Definitely, that would make, not in there.
Septic rate.
You need to make sure it's sorted, and you don't need So if you're not. That's what. Okay, so.
It's a good thing. Get out of here. Or.
You're on their side. Yes.
What kind of.
Oh, okay.
Well, yes.
Next one. But, yeah, like.
Yeah, so this one say very unique. So I mean, I can.
So I.
It'll be the other one.
So the city will keep it standing.
So here's.
So.
Bring the speed out of stand. So our we've got these. Here.
Everybody pays for their.
Versus the foundation which. Again, so but.
We will extend it all the way and everybody. So then. But then you set a price, whatever that would be. But
There's no. There's increased costs.
So,
Yeah.
so it is, so in here. You're not.
But then using their own. Well, yeah, I'm not.
I understand what you're saying. You want everybody.
No, everything on this line.
When you're paying for it, going, what's the rest? Well, I know.
But so, let's say. Let's talk about.
Let's maintain.
He's gonna have to expand light up to.
If there's next to the street.
But what else? About 10 feet. And at $500.
Septic in their house, so.
So that's adding a place to sleep, place to cook.
So it's outside of.
That's.
Right.
Break the bank.
Well.
So it does. Yeah.
25.
It's your project on a parcel.
So when you get, so if you don't. So, so in that, so.
Yeah.
If you know, work side of it is, that, you know, it's a good cost.
So.
Whatever it is.
So that was. The only reason why. Because. No, I hear that is. It's a city meeting. And it didn't go probably 100 feet.
Yeah, that's.
And it was a really painting. Job there. Just to go-
And then there's a process to,
They spent like
where
years.
that can be. Right, and then.
Yeah, so what's that question?
Not about correct, that's where you don't see many of them overnight. Why we want to have.
It's food. It is all. Some of the ways typically work. Places of development. Is the developer. You're outside of your lines throughout the area. And then out of that. Construction of the now is available for everybody in between, right? There's areas to be able to connect. Use other house, having the city and staff does projects to try.
Now, there is.
For a thousand.
Such as.
Yeah,
If the city had the money.
that was, and that was 3 years ago. That was sales page, that included a lot of. Private. You're the why. Tell me,
Right, where. Where septic tanks are things.
I don't know.
Where there is a high density. Where it can get, you know, those. Seeing those areas, city farm. Right, so these business that can make their most users prioritize. I think it's stop there, but you try to live with as far as they can. Right, and then do that for as long as you can. Continue to apply for state. So. Oh, absolutely regret it.
I'll actually
A lot. About 40% right now of the sewer plant is paid by federal. and state
Thanks, I mean,
taxes.
it does get
Massive,
cheaper.
right? Like, and that's incredibly hard work. By our city administrators. Like, it's been incredibly hard work.
Yeah, so that is, it's a recorded, agreement that's, they have, there's a number of different ways to
Right now.
draft them, but in essence, we would need it to say, when the sewer line, gets to me, I will connect, and I will pay my fair share of the cost to bring it to my. I would join that lake, I would, join the latecomers, I would join the school district. That's being in my area.
Yes, there are connections, but that can be funded by either. Right? So like, and what, the hard question comes down to, right?
What do you mean by that?
Within what
The person who's gonna have their system failed tomorrow, the person who wants to build a house. Well, I don't have to think about it.
we are preparing for.
It's gonna be good.
Because.
They did a stuff.
Sewer line. For having a committee. That is having more smaller lots, and not one house on 70.
They're paying for that, and they're within 300 feet, and that's on the sewer line to do any development, to put a new, a new dwelling on their property. Right, and it's anywhere from $250 to $400. It's too, well, it's less expensive, yes, it's done privately than if it's. It is contract. Right, so, what we did with the main gig that, definitely support. We did it like. It's not taking.
How much actually now on those lots? Yes, I don't know. It's just.
Where it's really fine.
Speed up that cost based on frontage, and then lake, you can have a lake one talk on your house based on frontage, I don't know. And then the other half is based on size, so that's like a potential.
Yeah.
Subdivision.
Right.
That's, and so that was the calculation, the others just didn't come up with that.
Where it
Right,
allows.
those persons that sit in super. They need to put a development charges above that thing.
Well, they
So-
can't connect.
But they, upfront cost is free by everybody.
You bought it.
But they have.
This, these lots here.
We haven't paid any, no one paid anything upfront. It's built
That
into
are
the
right
rent.
now.
Hypothetically,
The cost for them to build a new septic tank right now, anybody knows, on the 10 grand rate. 5% septic in the right line. Okay. The cost to hook up to the sewer right now is $800.
So there's a couple of other things as well in there. We could do, again, yeah, so it's not community water.
Super.
Don't be like, yeah, project.
So right now, the sewer
Utilities
base
on local.
is $125.
Exactly, city led, and are similarly set, so the other person's been in the area.
But again, we're talking about that difference.
That's another way the city could also continue to extend and similar set A and D by the lake.
We're talking, and so that's
But
what.
again, there's cost and
If
more by
it's already
every.
used, right?
That
That's
is
the goal,
never-
is to get them as close to people.
Okay, so the question I have is, if you have.
They-
Replacement septic is A to 10, right? So the city is $1,600 to connect to the sewer. That does not include the actual parts of material, labor to connect to the sewer.
Correct.
Okay, so it's $6,800 plus about the same amount to learn the sewer line, rearrange the plumbing, sewer line.
All of them.
Creates
Cost.
a problem, we're talking double.
But for,
Where your property is.
if
Where your
this
residence,
person-
where your house.
Furthest,
So that $6,800 is not compared to the septic
But,
price.
uh,
It's incredibly variable.
with the person working on development,
You have to-
they went all this way.
If you have.
They could build it as a cost of a lot and then have it.
No,
It's
it's
like between you and
Cost, yes,
you're
20
running
years
that
are
part,
limited.
you're gonna be subdividing and having a second
So my
home on that
question
side.
is, for that development.
So why would basically the city's saying, in my case, my girlfriend's house where I live, has septic, there's sewer in the street. If she wants to put the ADU on it, like she wants, we know it's gonna go to sewer, that would be the plan anyways. That's just like, my property around the corner, 3.2 acres, you know, no one else here is necessarily. 400 feet to the very closest corner of my property, that's where the sewer is. You know, that's $100,000 just to get it sort of within reach. I already looked in that. And
Well, and I'm not gonna drop
diagonally
you.
across my lot, which is almost 600 feet, is how far I would have to run the sewer to get from my furthest corner to the highest corner. Where
So, you know,
where I want to be home. And so basically what you're kind of saying is I need to subdivide my lot and give the city what they want, more lots, more residents. and completely change what I want to do with the product. That's basically what you're trying to.
What I'm saying to, yeah, what I'm saying is that because the city is required to do this comprehensive.
And, but because they're putting application for that subdivision, so that's all I meant.
One house,
So that's what they've been told is that requirement.
because of the cost to extend services to that.
So I totally. I want to just clarify one thing. I totally understand that.
They
And
developed
one
that
home
in
on my
the
lot,
way that.
large lot is not. The end goal is either subdivide or the zoning change or whatever. I want two other, at least two other homes on that property. I want
So I just
short
feel like
term
we.
and primary residence. So you'd have three homes in that spot.
Yeah.
And you want to see is if there's- it's a system that comes operate like a business.
Financial.
This go around.
Um,
I want
but-
to build a-
So I get,
Yeah.
again, back to the whole list for the
Sure,
projects.
you know,
So I get, my question is, there's been, I don't have.
Well, seriously,
Fire.
like business as-
Or the assessment.
If
So
I
say
want to
say
build
you're
now,
doing that.
good code, I can
And
build out a
city
septic.
has-
I build my house, I put on a septic, you have no worry that septic is
The
gonna be
problem,
good for.
the problem with that though is this way.
Yeah.
Because then you get into the exact same cost.
That's not value in the
Oh,
project.
you let
No,
me build
the
a
way
house
that
that
that will-
I built a house
Not like for the project.
Right, and so I set it up.
So the only way that it works is
And now.
if there's a-
Subdivide this many houses.
And that is, so if 40%,
Able to.
it's
You have
in the
lots
packet,
of
so if you get
different
40%
separately,
of
then completely not with that same intent of something
that
that
is
is like,
correct.
okay, that's right. So you-
then it would go, we already know that
You
we
don't
are
want bigger
able
space,
to.
you should just
But
set up
if
some
there's
space
a
for
requirement.
people to have a spot.
If they
Like
don't,
there's a bigger
then it
size
doesn't
for it,
go.
versus you can have a
And so
much
that's
smaller
where
lot.
it's sexy, part where they're probably.
So
that's why.
So in my case,
Don't go on the road, but.
how I
in
see
general,
sewer,
um,
plant
then it doesn't-
as a
But
business.
there's a lot of, and they're like,
I'm trying to do right now.
there
It's
will be an
not ready, it's not
assessment
time, there's no
on
sewer on my
the
street.
project.
You let me put septic in.
So it's similar to.
Basically, I showed up on a day where you can.
I need it.
I want it, I'd rather be on sewer, but I want to build now.
It could be a light,
So you
multi-guy
let me-
way, it could be a lead,
Next
it
time
could
around,
be
in
a
5 years, when I decide to build it out, 2 years, when the sewer's going in the street, you're looking for business, I connect to sewer. And
Yeah, every scenario is different. Yeah, it would depend on your neighbor.
You got a side. Let's go there. So you're. Yes.
But I guess, so.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta understand. No, So local districts, the only way that. The Lake County agreement does not assess land. None of these other financial options
So
are in
because
there.
it's really in development,
City
you were at the
Running
point
a
of, yeah,
project.
in development properties are gonna stay in development.
has
If
that
you
option.
put
as far as
a company that
Not the other
had
thing
developed
about
already, so there was an existing. Closer to what you're talking about, is where you. Or even,
I mean, even if you don't pay your water.
Bigger with development agreement, that when sewer comes to you, you're agreeing. Okay, so it's probably-
No, I agree. Right. They're paying for what they're getting. They're paying for what they're getting. They're paying.
But they would be with the goal station, the city.
But you're inside city.
I like your bank. And with a septic.
I like to see that.
30 years.
It's all city limits, so you don't-
This year. They
Like
connect,
tag on to the
right,
developer.
if they have
So,
something that's
you
working.
know, developer.
Instead, if there's a.
Then
incentive,
the project
I
probably
want
goes
to-
to that
I want to
extension
develop this
that's,
property.
you know,
What does it take to develop
At
this
least that makes
property?
sense. The
Right.
next
It
intersection
takes
road.
the
So if
line
we're
being
in an
extended.
area where we know that.
Partnering with other neighborhood
So then-
properties. They're basically forced to- I mean, like,
Yeah,
up
part
the street.
stuff.
That would have-
Is-
Come together and expect you, right?
Part of the reason that we're on.
Yeah, they have no.
Right, like, so because, so right, but because that would happen,
We fail.
because they're now on sewer septic, they have no incentive.
Right.
Partner with you, because as soon as you partner in that process, it's easy just for you. Undeveloped property.
So
or
ultimately,
non-septic, well, you would have no incentive once it fails to help any of the other neighboring properties also create a fire.
Is everyone in agreement?
So that's the piece of that, right? As a vacant lot property.
Well, just one real quick question. So when I was brush cutting, there's a 4-inch ABS pipe that's sticking up out of the ground this big with a cap on it.
Right line.
Right part of the unit, and I just come out fill for a double wide that was on my property. So you're saying if I dig that up and you find a septic system, then I can remodel my septic system and it wasn't permitted?
That is,
So, right, so like, so that's the hard part of that one, right? Like, it would need to be something that's permitted and currently working and something that's, so, like, and even then, I don't know the answer on that, but I do know the answer that is like. Permitted. So that would be like saying, like, I don't know, people are clearly putting poop in, can I use that? Like, I mean, this, we're kind of running that line of thought. Unfortunately.
Where's there gaps and pockets in that?
We're not, so there's a couple of things. But no, that's not. Right now, yes.
So this is.
We did more than one day.
And you're talking about.
That's what they say. We have not been enforcing them. But the current code says we can enforce. And then. So we have.
Or like a better example. Lots here, right? Where this lot might be here, but it's not. Right.
Yeah, so it's like that is. It also comes back to the lighting, that's why I say that. Especially it's 100 something $1,000 plus just to get it. And now I have to make extra but also for a year to get all this.
Yeah. Like just for to go that
Well, the idea is not to play hang in.
So I saw see their.
yeah, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm outside the boundary, so. But I'm just, you know, you gotta get.
Yeah, my grandfather. No, I never saw it. It dug up really. It's fun. Yeah, one time when I was-
Like, hold out until you get off. You guys have really great questions. They said, so you can stop doing it. And the answer is no, like, it's still. Right. Yeah.
So that's.
Be nice adding on. a little more balance for household. But it's kind of like. Some of these people.
Okay, so if you're running a house, no, if you're just like, you're not looking at
Something that happens in a lot of the.
Well, I'm not quite inside the boundary yet. Coming.
Are you within city limits then? No.
Yeah. Just barely.
Based on.
But I do want to have an ADU and I already have it. So I can set these system.
I mean,
I'm not excited about anything, but to take care of my city first.
I know, yeah.
But I know some folks are needing water.
It's still open, so why not share your influence? You have to tell. I'm here. Yeah. Yeah, all right, okay.
And now.
I did, I was trying to.
All these lots are. Well, you're talking about. And, actually, these lots were. There's only one line that's actually. So that's one.
Just because my property was slated for I a single one party. Not wanting cash in my pocket. I'm sorry. So I think.
Okay, you guys write it out.
You're gonna say.
You know, so there is.
Right, yeah, but they're not.
But it-
For sure. Where am I gonna live? Get property, right? In a trailer. You were wanting to develop. Developer could be a private company or it could be an individual property owner. What have the title of developer because they're developing the property. If you are wanting to develop your property, then you might need to check how many lots and by vicinities to be able to recoup all of the costs of your cities, which includes roads and infrastructure too. So that is what.
And again, it's city.
I don't know that. I do know.
I would be happy living in a 600 square foot lot. I live in an 850 square foot.
Well, apparently it's still working because shouldn't do the next phase is going. So apparently you can do one, right? And so yeah.
I'd be happy with the 2,000 square foot shop, 600 square foot.
It's a long term investment.
My girlfriend is being fine with that.
And city recognizes might be some areas. Where do you guys have to start going? Until services are extended. But the people who can get this. Rent 5 houses, right? Yeah, there's no incentive for them. No incentive for that. This way you'll never get this far. If you never get this far, you're talking about all of these places have to fill out that gap and plus this gap. Right? It's always 6 months. It's like, there's no-
I'd like an after. I'd like a, it's all check. So that I can.
They just won't let us in the next. Right, like, so, like, okay, like, back to the right? If you're not doing it, you're black. If you change what you're doing, this is you want to go and let's build up.
So the idea now is.
But.
But just because I'm looking. Yeah, when I county, I set myself. Like 6 months.
That
I understand.
Brother, who's on the name, whatever, not, and they-
You're right.
We're not getting anybody who's done this.
You're flush.
It's done all already.
But. All of these.
Yeah.
So.
Just totally on
City.
on that one.
Local health departments have determined
Line
that
up.
septic is going to be right to be sufficient. Yeah, we're just.
5 more minutes, everybody.
All right, it's 6:45. We're gonna go into a brief recess. You guys are, have the information that you need, a brief recess so we can reset the room for the rest of the meeting.
Because nobody's extending it out here. That's right. Nobody's extending it, right, like, right, like, it's one I live in, did it. Exactly. So like, so. Like, you would say.
Ready.
So I guess
I'm thinking, there's a whole.
I'm trying to get at, on the road, no, that's you are,
Okay.
big water seventies. They had a projection in the 1980s, the town of
The sewer.
Which is what I thought I said, that part of my. The city.
And we're struggling economically as a region to provide jobs. So the grant can be doing now.
That's what I was wondering.
So it's very big.
I not really hear.
No, no
what
problem.
you guys talking.
You don't have to know.
Well,
Right.
and not at-
We don't want to. Yeah, I'll give you the right.
Very similar pushback happened. Very famous. Pointing that.
How that will fall out.
Compare the city. So 39 city now is less primary house.
Not even fuzzy. But it's part of the decision.
Yes.
You know what, we'll do
But
just this part. So here. I'm gonna make- So which makes it so it's that same thing. Sort of- What would be-
Good process.
Just have to consider.
like,
Come in. It's another goal. That's all it goes to. Great. 20 minutes.
they're talking about annexation policy, but if it doesn't, it's like, it doesn't pencil them. So like, yeah, it's like,
Essential.
You,
Right. But currently, you must be out, you have to be- And so. everyone looking at, hey, we have the time.
you're getting together pretty much. You know, town.
Right.
Yeah. This is Red City, past Barry Circle, from the other across the county.
The city. The house.
Type in here. Try not to get hard, get us.
that would.
Who only answers, right?
What
you guys? Good, Robert Hughes. I read your, super 3 pages. It's more about the deficit. Yeah. I was like reading, I was like, well, shit.
I was, there's some part of it off to get the zero there.
Oh. That's your latitude, right? Yeah, no, I read everything.
Exactly. And
Impressive digest of the RCW keeps suggesting.
that's exactly what the city wants. It wants That's what I want to do. Is don't. It's not what
Yeah, right. So that's the thing.
About the whole district, again, those are. The city doesn't leave those. What ends up happening.
Well, that's how they do their new map. I'm sure all the.
It has to be managed by the city.
The,
It's
the
six.
map will be laid out.
But it's.
System development charges.
We have it split. Well, that's exactly what Andrew's saying, is that the plant was upsized to the maximum that the city can rent. Right. So they're upsized to the maximum.
It depends on how you look at it.
Live in the city. Based on the, you know, layout. And
Last couple more comments and then we're gonna reset the room.
There is, I just.
If you have a couple more comments or questions, we want to get those, make sure that you have that opportunity. We want to wrap up this session so we can go into the rest of the regular.
I haven't.
How many residents do you have?
There are.
Oh, that was,
Right?
that was, a-
And that's what we're having.
well, there was one where we were trying to get a survey. But there you go. Oh, I know the one you're talking about. I don't care how long. You want to know the number or?
I don't like. Very sorry.
The enforcement.
That's part of it. The other part is making sure that we identify the areas.
You don't.
Allow. Automatic. Strict. That's not built in.
And so that's. So
It's in our.
You can't.
I've never had your feet on.
I don't.
That is you. Yeah. Yes, that is. Ben. Ben. Ben.
Yes, we are. There is going to be discussed.
I'm back here. Yes. He does have some sharp.
My personal. I'm saying it over your shoulder.
Thanks for coming.
No cookies?
I just needed a key.
Oh, right.
No, I'm free.
Yeah, I mean, what whole person is there is. Guys, manage your property
We're gonna take, we gotta read that through, so we gotta break those tables down, move the chairs over there. Well.
Everybody all ramped up. But it left.
Very.
There has to be. And if it's a football, and of course, people are gonna be like. And then. Later, guys.
Probably.
From the outside, it feels.
Everybody's well, you said.
And that's why I say I can speak to you.
Because I'm gonna.
Okay, I got
Thank you.
You don't think that way. This is. And that's.
I mean, it is, it does. Because it costs me extra.
Excuse me.
There is a lot of all the same. And no one should sense that.
Okay, I'll get another.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, it's right there.
You get it?
Caroline.
Good. Yeah. Please. Well, I would love to hear some feedback.
If I'm coming around. Well, you know, wheels, right? Where it's. Great. Yeah. Spin around. Here, here, here. Sit down, I can. Have a seat.
Hey, Ben. My pass this to you.
Nobody in the. And around.
Where are you gonna sit?
I don't know if you can hear me, but there's no sound.
I can hear you, Christy, but I can't hear the meeting.
I texted Liana and Scott and told them that there hasn't been sound for quite a while.
Yeah, I sent Liana an email as well. I think it happened when they were rearranging all the furniture.
And I can't do a chat or anything, so I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I'm not seeing chat either.
Okay, cool.
I have my video on, so maybe they see my mouth moving and I don't know if they hear me or not.
They're not looking at us. Oh, goody. I tried that hand up earlier.
Yeah, it looks like Joanna's doing the same thing. I'm saying things. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you.
Scott said recess while they set the room. So maybe they'll fix it in a second.
Okay.
Want me to turn off and turn on?
Okay, there it is.
Okay,
we go.
there we go. Okay. Okay,
Your magic.
sorry.
All right, so we've had a first and a second on the consent agenda. We're up to discussion. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? No. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
You?
Does Joanna need to did the consent agenda?
Oh, she might not.
So who did the motion and second?
I did the motion.
I did the second.
He did the second.
You get that, Johanna? I'll get it.
Okay. All right. All right, sheriff's report.
You've all been supplied a copy of the stats for last month. If you have any questions?
I do, Trace. Trying to bring it up here. Looks like we had 47 calls for the month. Looks like.
It should be on that.
Yeah, on that
two-page
sheet.
document at the very bottom.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. But I also noticed that within that, let me double check. When you ran that, it also brought up all the medical calls too.
Pardon me.
It brought up all the medical calls too.
And I've supplied those since the beginning. If you want those taken out, I can remove them.
No, that was just one of the discussions that we had when we were talking about the contract that.
Right,
That-
you know,
that-
and I understand where you're coming from that as far as the patrol side of things, but it's also
the dispatch is utilizing those calls as well and dispatching those through your city.
Right.
So that's why they're in there.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, Liana, the interlocal agreement.
So included in your council packet is a staff memo and a draft of the agreement based on some discussion that Dave Cox and Paul Hendricks had with Sheriff Shire and Tracy Wyckoff. Up for discussion. Their request was for ultimately $150,000 increase over 2 years to get us in line with what other communities of similar size and call volume are paying for similar services. The city is currently paying just over $200,000 and the other communities are paying about $350,000. Their initial proposal was $100,000 this year and $50,000 next year. They also mentioned a couple of other concerns that they had, such as closing the road for parades and the increased cost that has. And there's a way that we can pass that cost along to the people that ask for the parades. However, most of the people that ask for those parades also get tourism advisory funding. So in essence, the city could reimburse them through the tourism funds. And the only caveat would be when the school closes the road for the concert. And there could be a way that we can, I'd have to talk to the attorney about creating an exemption for the school district for that. So. Discuss.
Thoughts? Mr. Negotiator, thoughts?
I don't see Paul on here tonight.
Paul's sick today.
Pardon?
Paul is sick.
I think we have some more work to do. There's some questions that I have in regards to the amount of current expense that the city taxpayers pay into the county. And that current expense is about, I can't remember what Gabe said, but it was somewhere around, what was it, 15%? Leon, do you remember?
So
14%?
assessed value wise, the city is about 14% of the county. The way that I broke it out, ultimately what we pay into the sheriff's office for their work is about $86,000, I believe.
Into the current expense.
No,
That's
so
what
we pay about, so 25%, so the current expense, out of the current expense fund, 25% of that is the sheriff's office budget.
Okay.
And so if we take what the city pays as a whole, which is $350 to $370, if you take 25% of that, it works out to $86,000 to $92,000.
Okay.
And so that would be
And we know that
our proportionate share of the sheriff's office budget that the citizens pay through property taxes.
just like any other citizen,
Correct.
it's a taxpayer.
Correct.
Okay. So then we take that and then we add what is our current contract at? 200 and
201.
so you add the 201 to that, so there's almost 300,000. Okay. And then they're asking for another 100,000 on top of that, which puts us over 400,000. and then an additional 50,000 the following year. And all of the information that was provided to us was cities that own their own police departments.
No,
No? Which city does not own their own police department?
if you can give me a city that can run a police department for $300,000, we'll do it.
So the city.
So none of those cities run their own police department. They all,
Engine of White Salmon.
so Bingen, so White Salmon is the one that has the contract or
Okay.
manages the department, and
Okay.
Bingen contracts with White Salmon.
And
And so they pay a portion of that. Tenasket is believe Tenasket, Okanagan and Benton City and Davenport, those are all county.
Correct. These are all contracted cities.
They're all contracted cities,
Correct.
okay? Right.
With light contracts that have the 24-hour coverage, and then also comparable populations, and then comparable call volume to a point.
Okay.
Provision's actually quite a bit lower.
Okay, there, I don't know, I think we need to have some more discussion about it.
Does council have a direction on how we want to negotiate it, I guess? On call volume, on population, on assessed valuation, on
Priority of calls.
Mhm.
I don't know if we have to start prioritizing calls and what we want to have them respond to, and what we, you got priority 1 calls, priority 2 calls, so on. So forth. I don't know. But I think there needs to be more discussion. Because I'm having a hard time trying to put into words why the city's going to pay another $100,000 for law enforcement services. And quite frankly, I haven't been given that yet, that information. And so it's tough for me to look at my constituents out there and say, well, it's because we've got this call volume and it compares to such and such. And so because they're getting it that way, then they feel that we need to be doing it. So that doesn't sit well with me. I would like to see, for example, what Under Sheriff Wyckoff provided for us, a breakdown by month, what those calls were. And so that we can see what calls are the ones that are the priority calls that we may want to take a look at. These are the ones we want to concentrate on. The others, figure out how to do a web-based reporting system or something like that.
So I have calls broken out from 2017 to 2020 from the last time we went through this. And those types of calls, I can provide that to you. And then I can also see, as we talked on the phone earlier, the calls actually have gone down in 2022. So between 23 to 21, or sorry, 2017 to 2021, the average call volume as a percentage of the county was about 22%. In 2014, it's 14%. And based on recent numbers, they seem to be trending that same downward trend. So if we went off of a percentage of call volume, if we use the average of the past 5 years as a percentage of the sheriff's budget, it'd be about $750,000. And that average would again be about 21%. But if we did it based off of the last year's average, or the last year's percentage of calls, it'd be about $500,000 as a portion of the sheriff's office budget.
Are you including the jail contract in that?
I'm not including the jail contract in that because it's separate and it's not included in the sheriff's office budget either.
But she included it in her statistics.
As far as,
She put, once she had done her statistics, she said the overall sheriff's budget was such amount, such and such amount.
I pulled it straight from the website, from the county website.
I was
So,
basing it on what she had presented to us, and her document utilized the entire sheriff's budget, which included the jail. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff.
Well, so I think you are incorrect in the point that I was just trying to make. If you incorporated all of those things, my point is that if I took the call volume and made it a percentage of our entire budget, because
Right.
of the jail dispatch, emergency manager, all the things that are incorporated within my budget, just overall, it was a breakdown of $900,000, $1 million, and $900,000. It was just more of just showing where that comparison is, that what it takes to have the highest call volume within the city of Stevenson and what that looks like against my entire budget.
Okay.
Yep, so it was just more for nuance.
so I can work more with Dave on a direction. Is there any feedback from other council on a direction, or you, Scott?
David, Christie?
I got nothing.
I would defer to Dave's take on it.
No, I appreciate that, you guys.
Dave, I mean, Paul's in this with you, right? It's you and Paul have got to talk about this. You guys have got the reports of data and all that, right? You and Paul, or is it just
Well, we
you?
looked at the same stuff that you. did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Put this on the next agenda.
Okay.
All right, next up, we have a public hearing to approve Chenadere Phase 2-3 extension. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:25. Liana?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I guess I presented it. So this is the fourth amendment to the development agreement for the Chenadere Mountain Estates subdivision. They're very close to completion. There are a couple of items that have, again, long lead times due to COVID and supply chain issues. And so they're just requesting a 6-month extension of the substantial completion of the infrastructure portion. And then another 6-month completion for the follow-up required.
I don't think so. The draft of that amendment was prepared by the folks at Chenadere. Suggested some changes to that. Those have been proposed to you. Suggest granting that, keeping the development alive to get through the next phases. We do anticipate it being done soon.
All right, does anybody in the gallery today have any comments on this approval proposal? Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Ezra Hammer. I'm here representing the applicants for this requested amendment to the development agreement. I want to thank staff for working so thoroughly with us on this item. As the city administrator mentioned, we're really at the goal line here. We're waiting on a couple of outstanding items, but anticipate in cooperation with staff finalizing our punch list and the items that are going to go into our final performance bond, and hopefully have that before you as part of the final plat within the next month, 2 months at the latest. So we're requesting the 6-month extension solely out of an abundance of caution, but feel very confident that we are at that goal line, as I mentioned before, and that we will have final for you within the next couple of council meetings.
Only been the longest football game in the history of developments, but all right, I'm glad you see
It
it.
is. Well, yeah,
We don't want it. We don't.
I can say that, my experience having worked in both Oregon and Washington over the last several years, extensions like this unfortunately are not uncommon. Items such as transformers and a whole host of others, development related infrastructure, the lead times have become exorbitant and extremely challenging. That being said, once completed, I think we're gonna have a wonderful community with 72 families and with something that will be a benefit for the city for generations to come.
Great, thanks. Any other public comment? All right, I'd like to close public comment portion of this hearing at 7:28. Is there any other discussion from council or staff?
Ben, did we get the issues with the walking paths resolved?
Planning Commission has reviewed that and made a recommendation that will be presented to you with the final plat approval.
Okay,
David, Christie?
No,
All right, I would entertain a motion.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Fourth Amendment to the development agreement with Aspen Development LLC for the Chinnedeer Mountain Estates subdivision as presented, period.
second,
First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
I,
Aye.
Approved. You're welcome to stick around.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Are there a notary?
I charged.
Sorry.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, in your packet, you do have the first reading of the sewer connection requirements. After listening to the comments, we're here today. What are your thoughts? Do we need to continue this discussion?
Oh, Jesus. Is this going to be a public hearing?
No, this is just the first look at the ordinance.
So what you have in front of you, so we discussed at the August 24th meeting and there was consensus on changes to be made. And so those changes were made to the ordinance. And so that's what's brought before you now and was discussed during the public hearing or during the workshop.
Did you want me to go over the changes? I prepared the slides. I'm gonna go over.
Oh, yeah.
Council. Happy to.
So there's a series of sections. One of the sections addresses existing septic systems. That's not the right slide. Number 5.
Make it smaller.
Go to full screen.
Lower right-hand corner. Will be
Oh, thank you.
presentation mode. Left.
I
There's a
don't,
little-
if I do presentation mode, it might mess it up with the Zoom,
Oh,
so.
okay.
That's.
Thank you.
So this is the current code. So currently the trigger of requiring connection of parcels that are currently being serviced by private septic systems is availability. So if you're within 300 feet based on current code, you shall connect. A direct connection shall be made. So now you can move to 7.
Where does it say up there? It's 300 feet.
There is no 300-foot requirement to this one. It kicks it back into 070. So as provided in 070.
So if the building is within 300 feet.
But that will be that, yeah, we'll get into that. But this is just talking about trigger, like,
Okay.
so the trigger is availability
Okay.
as it sits currently. Yeah, 7. So the proposed one, since the city hasn't been enforcing the current code to date, and in order to clean that up a little bit, the city is proposing that our trigger no longer be availability, but rather that it be failure. So failure of the septic system is the trigger. However, availability is still like a requirement. You're gonna want to slide up a little bit. So you have to not only be, it has to not only be available, but also has to, your septic system also has to fail to trigger connection
Has to be within that space and
and fail.
failure, not one or the other.
Correct. Yeah. So you can move to 8. So another section. That's not right either. That is proposed. I wonder how these got almost up. Line current code. You try it. You're talking about 120. No.
The mouse.
This is the 300 to the building one.
Yeah. That's part of it too.
This one, proposed revision.
She handed the mouse to him.
No, I think it is 8. Maybe I didn't do a current one for that because the current is just what's below it.
Yeah.
We're just adding to this. So this is to stop the, this one or this chain revision is basically to stop the bleeding. So currently septic systems are allowed throughout the city if you're outside of that 300-foot buffer. And every time a new septic system goes in, the desire to connect further up the line lessens and lessens, that it gets farther, right? So the obtainability for the folks up the hill gets, fewer and fewer. So this basically says that no new systems would be permitted for parcels in the urban reserve or parcels within 300 feet. So that's no new private system. If you would want to, or if a landowner would want to build an ADU or add a home to a vacant parcel in the urban reserve or within 300 feet, they would need to extend. Rick was just here. He built a lot of parcels and he was required to develop a whole sewer system. So not an uncommon, request. B is expansion of private, sewage systems. Again, that would, as this is drafted currently, that would not be permitted for parcels located in the urban reserve or parcels within 300 feet. So expansion of the private system means if you wanted to add an ADU or add bedrooms and you had your septic system and it was functioning just fine, you wouldn't be able to add another tank, add more drain field to accommodate that new development. However, if there is no expansion required, the city council has tasked us with, trying to figure out how to get obtainable housing and how to help it be affordable to live in Stevenson. We didn't want to, we wanted to make sure that wasn't something that was going away as part of this. So if your system's sized and you can grow, you can add dwellings, you would be able to continue to use your current system. So C talks about failure. And it basically says you can be permitted a replacement of your septic system if you're outside of 300 feet, but you must be in the urban reserve if you enter into agreement with the city that says when the sewer is coming, when the sewer comes to me, I'll play ball, I'll connect. So it doesn't restart the clock on a new system. So if a new, a replacement system's put in, is constructed, it doesn't mean that it's going to be there for 40 or 50 years. It means that it'll be there until the extension gets to that parcel. So that's that slide, or that's that section, revisions to that section. I feel like if you guys have questions as we're going through, we can certainly get into that, but. So this is 138070, and so this is another kind of cleanup item. Current code says, lose your picture. You don't want to read all that anyway, it's really confusing. But what it says in essence is the availability means 300 feet to the building that's being constructed. Depending on the size of your lot and where you put your building, you could be you could be required to connect or not required to connect, depending on where you put your building in your house. It's a little bit arbitrary. So the changes that are proposed for this section are making it into, I have to zoom out of this guy. In and out and in and out. This makes it something that is more fair and more tangible and can be measured. It's not because it's not based on where you put your house on your property. It would be 300 feet to your property line. And also is being specific about the urban reserve, that DDD section is adding a definition of urban reserve to the code because we're using it throughout. So that's 070. This just shows 300 feet to a property line or within their reserve. And so lastly, adding a section that is specific to inspection requirements of the private system. This WAC is its guidance, but it just says that if you have a private system, you're going to be operating, monitoring, maintaining, inspecting your system as is required for the state. So that when your system starts to approach failure, you'll have that understanding of that's coming. It won't be a ticking time bomb for you anymore. That's all. It just is the mission again. So that's kind of a summary of the revisions that are presented tonight. If you guys want us to look at anything else more specifically, we can do that. Last meeting, financing options was something that you had asked for. And I think Luana provided a report with financing options available. You also asked me to look at how do we plan to extend to provide, the intent is not to rely on our citizens to do all of our extensions. We still want to have a plan. We still want to be shipping those projects away day by day. So there's a couple maps that I can pull out if you want, but a number of the extensions are already in the general sewer plan. Some have costs associated with them, some do not. And then we also just went ahead and roughed in a potential for additional extensions so that they would cover all of our citizens. So making that service available to everyone. So we're gonna get that in the second on the budget.
That's one thing to talk about when we talk about the budget.
So depending on what you guys want to see will depend on how to move that ball forward.
So one thing, there was a lot of comments received tonight, and I'm sure there's a lot more that will be coming. Not everyone could make it tonight. How do you want to proceed with this? Do you want to have another workshop with incorporating comments, another revision to the ordinance? How do you want us to? You want us to just make revisions based on feedback and present it at the October meeting? Do you want to have a workshop between now and October or November?
You want to get the comments before you decide whether any revisions need to happen?
Right.
I'd like to review the comments.
So maybe just summarize. We can, yeah, we can, staff can review the comments. I know some will probably be coming, throughout the week, as well. So. Take all those, including the comments that were received in the council packet for the meeting.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So I know put it back in, probably when Ron Shippey was working here, they came up with this 300-foot. And WAC is 200 feet. Why did they choose 300 or 300 feet as opposed to 200?
We can be more restrictive. I don't know.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was
But
just
why?
like that. He dug Ron. I don't know where they picked. the
I
300.
actually went to his birthday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we can be less restrictive. We can be more restrictive. As a city. No, you can't be less.
I'd like to see us move it back to what the WAC suggests. Myself, I'd rather see 200 feet rather than 300. If we're going to put that kind of a restriction on it.
I agree with that.
And I'm still, and I get it, I understand it, but I'm still having a real hard time swallowing the fact that we're requiring landowners that have maybe a city lot that falls within having to have the main line brought up to their property, having to pay for that main line for a city structure, basically. And I'm just having a real tough time swallowing that pill.
But all the folks on sewer, it's okay for them to pay for city infrastructure that they're not using?
No, I understand they're using it, but.
But they're not using that extension.
Pardon?
So if someone wants to extend
Say I
sewer
have
to
a
their
lot-
property,
Say I have a lot that I want to build on
right?
that is requiring me to extend the main line up to the point where I can attach to it. Okay. Currently, according to what's presented, is I have to pay for that main line to get up to the point, up to my property in order to be able to do that.
So what Carolyn was mentioning is, so you're okay with everyone else in the city paying for a line for you to build your house? In essence, I mean, that's just a gross generalization. But that's what it would be. If the city pays for it, that's what it is. It's all of the ratepayers paying to extend it to your property for your house.
And then I would be a ratepayer too.
And you would be okay paying for someone else to extend it to their house. And even a developer.
Going up? Or?
I think we need to have further discussion.
And I'm just talking, if you are at the
No,
end of the
I-
line and you
I
just
get
need to
it.
build
I
your
get
house.
it,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm a
yes.
ratepayer right now and you're
Right,
not.
right. No, and I get it. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yep.
But I also understand where where the people that currently have an existing system, or if they have basically one lot that's two lots, and they want to put an ADU on it, but yet for them to have to pay that kind of money to put a main line in order for them to be able to do something with their property. I've got heartburn with it, and I think we need to do a lot more work on it.
God forbid, $1 million for a lift station.
There you go.
So
Anyway,
Dave,
that's my 2 cents.
Dave, would you like to see a workshop outside of a council meeting where we have? people come
I would
and talk
rather,
about
I would
that?
rather,
What are you looking, what's your
maybe
ideal?
we need to have and I hate to use the term, a committee formed of some people that are within the city that are interested in working through this process. And not only address that issue, but also maybe somebody out there has some different funding mechanisms that they have an idea on. I mean, we have a lot of experience that's living within our city limits. And I think we need to address that, allow that to be able to come in to our decision-making processes. And to do that, I think there needs to be some kind of a workshop that involves that expertise, other than just us sitting here talking about it. There's my 2 cents.
Do you have a timeline?
Pardon?
Do you have a timeline?
7:48.
No, it's a timeline as far as when you would like to see that committee established and information brought back to council.
I think we need to put it out there, a request, see who might be interested to do that so that we can start that process next month. I'd like to see some kind of a committee formed prior to the end of next month. Now, how that all fits within budget processes and poor Carolyn's workflow and all of that, and Ben's planning commission stuff, I'm not sure. But I may have just thrown a big monkey wrench in.
You know that strategic plan that we went through with all that list of things?
Yeah, I know, I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something's
All 2
getting
days
kicked
worth.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments from any other folks that sat in? Had a chance to review?
Oh, I think that we needed to have further discussion based on what, I mean, I was only at one table, most of it, I was in the back, and then I walked around and kind of tried to talk to a few people. And there was I think there were people who came in that there was confusion about some of the finer points of what was really being presented, which I think everybody who I heard speak did a good job of trying to diffuse some of that, but I still think we need some more discussion.
Can you elaborate on where the confusion was?
Well, I actually had one person come in that was, they're outside of everything. When they followed the flow chart, they absolutely didn't meet any of the criteria and was no all the way through, but they walked in ready to fight about the fact that they were going to have to pay to bring sewer up to way up into the corner of city limits. It's not close right now, and the plan didn't show up being close anytime in the real near future. And they were looking at developing a lot, and they got the flyer, and maybe they didn't follow the flow chart right when they put it up or whatever it was, but they came in just not with a different idea of what we were talking about. And it was an honest thing that we were able to look at and figure it out. But that was one of the things that specifically was like, they walked in totally not, they thought they were in a different spot.
Well, that was the point of the workshop too.
Right.
An immediate workshop, just so that we can.
Right, to do it right
start
now.
Crossing off some of the confusion.
Yeah.
So that we.
No, and I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciate that. And I appreciate the flow chart, to follow it where you end up. I think that was really good, but.
And I agree that I really like that flow chart.
The ordinance changed as well from when the flyer got sent out until what's being presented to you today. So staff have heard concerns, gave it lots more thought, and made a number of revisions. So I would expect that there is conflicting information from what was presented to the flyer to what's presented today.
One of the things that I was hearing a lot at my table is that this issue is interrelated with the rate issue, and there's not enough information about the rate issue and the impact of not doing this on the rates. And so it may be something where the committee, or however the process moves forward, is having those two things discussed at the same time. And so if I don't think that the rate study right now is considering adding all these extensions to it and setting aside funds so that individuals don't have to bear the burden, that the collective would bear the burden. If that can be added to the scenarios for rate studies, so that can be presented as an option for you moving forward. There's still the option of not doing this action. But if this action were to occur, that concern about how am I going to afford this, whether that's financed over time or paid for right now, how am I going to afford this?
And again, my vision of the committee is not to sit and nitpick why we can't do this. Why can we do it? Or how can we do it? How can we do the things the city needs to do in regards to our overall projects and still be able to live with each other as neighbors and as city residents. So
What council members want to be on that committee?
I will be.
I will be. With the 2 years, so. No, but I absolutely.
And I'm happy to be on it after January, or after the election.
Bold statement, Pat.
I'm the only one that's in the voter pamphlet. I think you're gonna have to live with me.
Ah, that's all right. Thank you. That's good stuff.
But thank you. I just want to go on record. I want to thank the staff for all the work that they've put into all of the issues, because I know this has been tough. So
I feel like they were all very well versed as well, each table. So anyway, thank you guys for that.
Yeah, so don't forget, the idea was not only to tie in the rates part of it, or to Ben's suggestion, tying in the rates, but this is a chance for us to look at our density that we identified in the comp plan. This is how we can do that. Every time a new septic tank goes in there, that is a lot that can only be that size. It's going to only have that amount of that structure on it.
Sure.
We start losing the opportunity to attain that density, those density goals that we set in the comp plan, the big book. So
I think the biggest comment I heard was the issue with that density from the comp plan. Why do we need density?
Well, we don't want density.
We don't want density.
Not why do we need it?
Right.
We don't want it.
Well, combination of
Here.
both, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're a small city,
Right.
small town. That was the biggest comment.
and I get that, but having come from Washougal and looking at Washougal now and what's happening. I was told once in law enforcement, if you want to know what's going to happen to you in the next 15 years, just take a look at what's going on downriver and you will get that in about 15 years. And boy, some of the stuff that I've seen happening down there, we're getting up here. And one of the first comments we started talking about that was meth labs. And it took about 10 to 12 years for the meth labs to move up into Skamania County from down around the Vancouver areas. Yeah. So I always keep that in the back of my mind. And I'm looking at what's going on in Washougal left behind Camas. And every time I go into Gratiot, I look across the hills over there. And sometimes I don't like change. Change is tough.
We're gonna get meth labs if we extend the sewer.
Now you can spend it on-
Go back to sleep, Carolyn.
No, but what's the, so I guess what's the question? So like the increased density will bring.
Yeah.
So the concern is increased density and increased population, bringing increased drug use and
No,
increased.
no.
Increase
The trends.
the trends.
We were having the trend, we were talking about the trends of drug usage
Okay,
in the Portland metro area.
okay,
And at that time, we hadn't had those issues in Skamania County.
okay.
And the comment that was made was just wait 10 to 15 years
Okay.
and you will see that starting to trend into
Okay.
your area. And I mean, it was right on. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen because we're talking about this, no. But I'm saying, you look at the growth that Camas and Washougal has had in the last 5 years. And you're going to see that growth. It's going to keep pushing right on up the river. And the next spot that's going to land is right here.
We don't want that growth.
No.
This-
I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just saying-
that's why the high density
The
area
schools
is.
are down.
the schools are at like 40 kids in a class. When I was here, it was over 100.
Right.
Like, I'm confused.
Give it a few
Yeah.
years.
Like,
He's saying we're gonna see an explosion.
Seeing explosion and growth.
He's not saying that, he's not even saying, he's not tying that to, it's negative like meth labs coming here. He's just saying, watch what happened there. Look at how much they've exploded in their population density in the last.
don't we need
So
diversity?
so that high
Like-
density area in the comp plan is
Makes
planning
sense
for the
because
future, planning
it's
for
on
that
its
growth
way.
coming.
That's
You think it's on its way.
Okay,
That is correct.
okay.
Right.
Sorry, we got lost on that.
Okay.
Rabbit,
No.
squirrel,
Well,
whatever.
Okay, moving on. All right, this is the public hearing, working on the findings of fact for the moratorium. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:58. Staff report, Leon.
So we adopted a moratorium at the last council meeting to basically a prohibition on any of a new construction, expansion, or replacement of private sewer systems. So that within the urban reserve or within 300 feet of the public sewer system, which is what we're looking at changing so that we don't get a rush on applications to make the problem worse, which is what we're analyzing right now, or basically make that situation greater as far as increased septics. And so after that, we set a date of today to hold a public hearing on the findings of fact as far as our rationale behind why we're doing that. And if the findings of fact are approved, then the moratorium will be withheld or be held up a maximum of 6 months. It can be extended as we have experience in extending them if there is a plan for lifting it. It can also be lifted at any time by another ordinance as well. So I would see it being lifted with changes to the current sewer ordinance. The variety of those changes can vary. However, that's sort of what I see. So, and it's 6 months from the date the initial ordinance was adopted. So that would be 6 months from, 6 months from August.
Whenever it got published, 5 days after publication.
Yeah, so. Like
Do we currently have anybody waiting for that ordinance to be lifted?
Not that, yes, we do. A new development on a parcel that would be a couple.
Yeah.
Would one of those include down by Rock Creek with the new cabins that they're talking about putting in down there?
No, that's sort of.
When you say new development, you mean the one that's stalled out as well? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the applications are on for vacant lots is what is currently being held up.
Ready for the staff report? All right, this is where we solicit comments from the public. If you would like to speak to this matter, please make sure to wait for to be invited to speak. Make sure that you state your name and where you live, and then also I'd like you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. So who would like to go first? Make sure you state your name and where you're from.
Rick Jessel Stevenson, the moratorium, the 300-foot extension of the sewer line. Are they both appropriate to comment on now? I'm still not clear.
Just the moratorium at this point.
Just the moratorium. I am not in the position of having any need for the moratorium lifted, but I do know people here who, if they had to run a sewer line to their property, could not do it. Essentially, their property stranded. They can't build. They have a lot of money into it, and it's just destroying property values. And I'd make the same comment about the 300 foot rule, with the, being on the sewer system instead of replacing the septic tank. Nobody in their right mind who's doing due diligence is going to buy a house in any of the area in the urban reserve. Again, that doesn't affect me, it'll affect my son because I'm sure I'll be gone before the septic tank fails. But I mean, it destroys property values. If you want a high density, a place like Camas, you're destroying what brought a lot of people here. For years, I stayed here because I enjoyed a small town feel. I enjoyed not having many people around. I enjoyed knowing all my neighbors. You're destroying the culture and the desirability in the long run. Also, let me say that I agree with Dave, some sort of committee, because I was really quite anxious and uptight and really got amped up about this because I didn't hear about it until after the meeting. I got the mailer on Thursday and then I put it aside and then I read it and I said, what the? And then, I didn't know anything about it and I got really uptight. And a lot of people got really uptight. So I would agree with Dave, gee, let's do a little community education. I'd like to hear about the bonds too. What kind of financial position? I mean, you say, well, we need the money. Well, you sell bonds. That's what most cities do. And maybe you're over subscribed. I don't know. I'd certainly like to take a look at it because, all of us have an interest in finances, our own personal finances. And it's very hard to read from the budget report exactly what's going on. But it needs somebody to explain it to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick.
Who's next? Anyone else?
Well, I'm Tina Van Pelt.
Go ahead.
You talk about growth and tying up property because you want multiple family lots. But the people that are going to afford those lots are not young families that are coming here with kids. Because the cost is going to be so high to run sewer to these outlying areas that you're not going to grow your schools. You're going to get people that are retired from places where they've sold their house for a lot of money and they're going to come and that's what they're going to buy. They're not going to bring more kids to this town to beef up our schools. If somebody wants to buy 2 acres and put one house on it, that should be perfectly fine for them to do without the burden of spending $500,000 to $600,000 to bring a sewer line to their property to raise a family on. So I have kids here. I'm 5th generation. We're now 7 generations in my family, and I don't want to see my grandkids not be able to afford to live in a town where they have roots. This is pushing the local families out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Anyone else?
I'm Gail Collins. And I worked for the city for a long time, so I've been through a lot of this. And I understand where the city's coming from, but I also understand with some of the public. If you own a lot and you want to build a house on it, it would cost you more than to put sewer up to it than the lot's worth. So it's just going to set vacant. And I think it's going to hurt the city and people. And so I don't understand quite the way we always done it in the past was we waited for a development to come through and they would put the line extension up because they would pencil it out to so many lots. And it seemed to work pretty good, I thought. Just because it's old don't mean it's bad. And so I kind of tend to want to go that way because I can't imagine paying $500,000 as an individual to put a sewer line up there. We never, you just can't do it. Your property will be worth it. And then the other thing is we're talking about making the lot smaller. My experience has always been the developers are gonna wanna do that. They're gonna charge the same amount of money if it's a quarter acre or an acre, or, lots are worth what the market is. Some people don't want big lots, so I think that you gotta think about that and do we wanna take our city that, I grew up in and crowd everybody in and basically have another Portland? And what Dave spoke to, I think that's kind of where he was heading. The more people that you get here, I think is going to cause you more issues. And so that's where I'm coming from. So, thanks.
Thank you, Gail. What else?
Yeah. Dave Prosser. Oh, shit. I know. Took a big breath, Robert. How you doing, Dave? I live at 1540 Lakeview Road. I have 3.5 acres, pretty much on the Skamania County Golf Course, and I am surrounded by other property. You cannot get city sewer to my house, to that property. There's no way. It would cost me, even if you got it down my little road, it would still cost me $80,000 to pump to your septic, to your sewer system. I've got 3.5 acres. To me, it makes no sense for if somebody has enough land, to put a septic system in, it sure is a lot cheaper than hooking up to the city sewer. There is no reason why that person should have to, why you would have to force them to actually spend more money to pay for something that you put on the table.
We will pave the road. Come on, Dave.
You know what? If you want to have people pay for it, right? Go down, look at the port property, right? That takes up most of your sewage plant, like right now. What's going down on the industry end, which the port has property out in North Bonneville. Put industry out there in North Bonneville. Come on. It's like perfect sense, right? Develop the waterfront as a waterfront. So anyway, I don't think that I don't think it's right that you try and force the little guy, because we were all little guys that moved here. All little guys. We didn't come here with a bunch of money, a big bank, but we bought a piece of property. We decided that we're going to build a house, put a septic system in, and do it as cheap as we could, because that's the way it is. But don't force us. It would cost me $500,000 just to run your septic line, your sewer line up close to across the street. Then it costs another $100,000 to get it out there. That's an expensive flush. That's expensive. So anyway, at some point here, I'm going to put my application in, and I'm going to want to put my septic system in. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm over.
Thanks, Dave.
Always good to see you, Dave.
Hello,
Anyone else?
Mary Rapar, I live here in Stevenson. Dave brings up a good point, and I'm sure it came up at all the tables, money. It always comes down to money. And I think we just need to find funding sources that $15 million is coming from funding sources. Thank you, American taxpayers everywhere. We're not paying for this upgrade to the sewer plant. And yes, we pay $125 a month for sewer, but there's no way we're going to pay $15 million back to anybody. And so I think I see where the city is going, but maybe trying to, whenever we do a road improvement, include all those things like we talked about, putting in broadband, putting in sewer and other things when the project is being done. And that might save everybody some money. Connectivity is a different issue. And I think we can find money for that in other sources. In the ordinance, when Carolyn was speaking, she mentioned availability and failure. I wouldn't like to see availability and failure. I would like to see and or failure.
We have some very old septic fields here in our community. And everybody says, oh, my septic field is good. Well, if it's 40 or 50 years old, and maybe not. Yes, you had it flushed every so often, but is it actually good? Is your septic field doing its job anymore? So until all septic fields and all septics are inspected, I don't think we can say that septic fields are not failing in the city of Stevenson. And I would like to see a map, which septic parcels are within 300 feet of a existing sewer system. And it's also a matter of equity too. We're putting in sewers, and those folks who pay a water and sewer bill every month are paying for it. So everybody should pay for it, because eventually some of those other parcels will be developed. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but eventually. And somebody spoke about affordability. There will never be affordability here until policies change. If you build more houses, people with money will buy them, not the people who can't afford them. So until we have actual legislative policy changes, there's no way we're going to have affordable housing. We all know that, but we keep talking a good talk, but that action is never going to take place. So again, I would like you all, I put in my comments, they're in the record from yesterday, and I'd like those included with this. It's going to come, but let's make it as painless as possible for everybody. We want a community that is safe and secure, and where we have sewer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else?
Just for the record, on, you're gonna vote on extending the moratorium, and it was mentioned that it's not affecting anybody, but there was a couple here who have a building permit in that was put on hold. They are waiting to build their home on what you guys are doing right now.
No,
So you're affecting their.
I said that there are a couple that are building on vacant lots that
Okay, just
are
wanna make sure
affected.
that
Yes,
wasn't
yes.
It wasn't clear, I guess. They are waiting to build their home based on this.
They don't have building permits in. We know a couple people who do not have building permits in, who are waiting to get them in until the moratorium is lifted. But everyone that had a building permit in, that was complete, which is everyone to my knowledge. We worked with a couple people who came in like right at the 11th hour and said, hey, we need these things to get a complete building application, so you wouldn't be subject to this moratorium. And so they went
Like I
and
said, I'm
got
speaking
those
for them.
done.
I don't know. I was told they
Yeah.
submitted their permit. It was put on hold.
Yeah. If you know them, please encourage them to reach out to the city, because I'm not aware of anybody who is on hold that has their building permit, put in. The only people we knew of that were going to build, and we had talked to them about putting in septic, we notified them months in advance of this discussion to say, hey, just so you're aware, this is a topic that is starting to be thrown around. I don't know when it will hit the fan and when it will come up or if it will come up, but we notified everybody that we knew were even considering a septic system on their property that this was coming. So we did our best.
At Rice Stevenson. What I would propose is that the incentives go the other way. That you lift the moratorium, and then the committee will then, if they're worried about an onslaught of people applying for septic systems, which isn't probably likely to happen, you may get a couple. If the committee was worried about that, and that's an incentive for them to speed up their work, to come up with a global plan. The problem I have with moratoriums is that there's no environmental reason for it. The biggest, when I did a public records request asking for any system failures in the last 5 years of septic systems, I didn't get any records unless I missed them. I mean, there weren't any failures in the last 5 years that you could show had done environmental damage.
I said those records, all of those records would be most likely received from the county,
so
but
the city
I have
has no-
one, the city has no records,
That's okay. So
Right,
that answer.
but the county is the one that manages the environmental.
The city has no evidence of a is what that told me. Okay, right? I mean, you don't, or else you would have sent it to me. So.
Keep it to comments instead of questioning staff. Let's keep.
No,
Comments, please.
no, that's a rhetorical question. That's part of my comments. So, no, it is. So anyway, I propose you lift the moratorium, and then I think, Mr. Cox, actually, a lot of your comments, I really appreciated tonight, and, I found them refreshing. But one of the reasons to lift the moratorium is I think we need to develop more trust in government. There's a lot of mistrust. And you think it's just with me sometimes. I'm sorry, I've talked to a lot of people in the last several years throughout the city. And I think that we need to work on building more trust. And if we can get rid of some of that heavy handedness, then I think that would help. And so thank you, Mr. Cox, for your service.
Thanks, Pat. I sure don't do it myself.
Anyone else?
Wes Houston, owner on Foster Creek 365, currently residing on Atwell in my girlfriend's home, which is septic. My property is undeveloped, and I'm in the mix of no longer being able to apply because of this moratorium, which I suggest should be lifted. Not only so that I can move my project along, but I can imagine there's a bunch of other folks interested in doing the same. Just a little bit of background. I'm not new to the area. I'm new to the area by 2 years as far as a property owner, but I've been here at least 10 years. The only problem I have here is, just I'm not against the sewer. The postage stamp of a piece of property that my girlfriend owns, when she wants to put an ADU on it, we already have plans to hook up to sewer. No complaint. That is, I believe that's the way to go, the proper way to do things. My property is so far from sewer, it completely, whether this moratorium, if this moratorium is not lifted and I can't put septic in, my property is useless. It might as well be landlocked. I won't be able to start the first phase of my development. I plan on, for those of you that know the property, it was slated for a very large development for a small footprint. I don't plan on doing anything like that, but I do plan on having a few homes on the same property, first of which will have to be septic. There's no way around it right now, or I'm going to lose the place, or some other portion of my life because I'm paying a mortgage on a land loan that's going to expire, and there's no way to get my permit. The next build, if sewer happens to be run up the street, I will gladly connect to sewer. I would prefer to be on sewer on that property, but it is unobtainium is, what I jokingly call it, at the moment to connect to sewer. My budget is this big to build, and the budget to extend to sewer would be more than what I plan on investing in the home, because I plan to build it myself. But again, what stands today, the conditions today, we have to deal with today and plan for the future. And that's what this comprehensive plan is all about. But a comprehensive plan is supposed to be complete. And what it's missing is exactly like a timeline, a plan for these sewer extensions and stuff like that, which again, I would be happy to connect to at a later date when it's available. And last final comment would be, I love the idea of a committee. I would love to see maybe a committee of a mixture of council members and residents of a varied experience in the city and varying properties. And I think that, if we really get to the nitty and gritty of things, we can come up with, brainstorm some really good solutions, and they could make everybody happy, because we all have our own unique situations. Sure. That's it. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you. What was your name again?
Wes Houston.
Wes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
See anybody else's hands?
All right. I'd like to close public comment at 8:21. Council? Thoughts? David, Christine?
I can tell David's thinking. I can tell what Christie's doing. What,
You have to adopt findings of fact.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're discussing. Council's discussing it right now.
Who's on that board?
Mary, you just can't hear. Sorry.
What do you think, Dave?
I guess the moratorium is going to get us 6 months, correct? Or
From
less,
August or less.
or less.
5 from now or less.
The idea is to have this in place until the ordinance is approved.
Or not approved. Right.
Or changed, or whatever it
changed, or
is.
whatever.
Right. Until we have an answer on the books.
So 6 months is, 6 months is February.
Right. Knowing the weather and everything and what's normally the weather. We're not moving into the building time of the year. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I don't think that we need to implement the moratorium right now. Especially if we're gonna form the committee, get them working. I don't know of any big developments that are coming in.
About 2 septic systems, 2 more septic systems.
And while they might not start building, their application will be vested at time of submittal. So I mean that they can, if this doesn't pass, they could submit their application tomorrow and not break ground until spring. And they would still be able to build a septic. Even if the code changes between now and then.
Michael.
I lean more the other way than Dave. In that. Like we put it in place so that there wouldn't, if the code changes to where it would be something that would prohibit or change what needed to happen on. In a certain instance, if we lift this now, that change happened, they put the application in. Next week, the committee doesn't meet till next month. We agree that a change needs to happen. And it's now they're already in, they've already got, the properties. I'm not, there's no one specific. I'm not like against whatever, but I want to see what's best for the city and what's best for everyone. And so for me, I would lean the other way from Dave, but not that I don't understand what he's saying, that it won't be a big mad rush, but we know we have at least 2, maybe 3 that have been mentioned tonight. And maybe those ones, when we do make a change, they can be on septic. I don't know the answer to that, but that's up the air. And so trying to get, folks getting in at that moment. I lean more towards keeping the moratorium for 6 months. It may be shorter than that because we want to try and get this amended and in place before 6 months. So I'm not looking at a 6-month one. I'm looking at what's it going to look like in the next 2 months or, whatever that is based on the committee's findings and public comment and what we hear. So I would lean more towards keeping it in place until we make whatever changes we're going to make. Because we're undermining the changes if we don't. That's my opinion.
One of the concerns that I have is we haven't heard any discussion at all about the health department and their authority over septic systems within the city. Are they not the ones that have to approve that final septic system? If somebody puts in a septic system?
They say you can physically, so you have enough room, the soils are right.
They make those
They
determinations.
make that determination,
Yes.
like based on the size that's required for home, space that's available, topography, soils, groundwater.
Right.
So
And
it's a little bit different than whether it's allowed.
Right. And then,
Two different.
so basically what we're saying is that we're gonna keep these two homes, for lack of a better term, from being approved by the health department to be able to have a septic system on their property. We are going to keep them from installing those, and if they do install them, then those systems will last however many years. And pardon?
50 to 100.
Yep, 50 to 100 maybe. They may choose to hook to a sewer system at some point if it goes by their house. We don't know that. We got a lot of conjecture there. I don't know, it's tough for me to tell a property owner if everything is in line that he has the capability to put that in place. And yet we're telling them right now, no, you can't, because we're gonna put moratorium on things until we get things figured out.
We already did that. We did that a month ago.
I know that.
And they still can like go to the health department and, pay a septic designer and pay the health department to do their review. Like all that can still happen. But it's a risk.
Yeah, but why would they if?
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
but they can. That's not the
Right,
city's
that
building
portion's not.
permit process, so.
All right, let's, David, Christie, any thoughts?
Oh, go ahead, Christy.
Oh, no, you go.
Okay. I was just going to say that I'm thinking along the lines of Michael, that we should keep the moratorium in place while especially if we're going through this whole process of more public outreach and committee meetings and all that sort of thing.
Perfect. Christy?
And I'm going with Dave. I hate impeding people building their homes, but I see it both ways, so it's difficult. I just don't like having the moratorium, and I know people that are trying to build, so I know it's frustrating. So that's why I feel like that.
All right, for those of you that, the two of you, I would entertain a motion.
All right. Well, I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2023-418, adopting the findings of fact related to the moratorium on the new construction, expansion, or replacement of private sewage disposal systems within the urban reserve or within 300 feet of the public sewer system, period.
I'll second that.
First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
You can break it.
You can break it and it's not financial.
Aye. All right, approved for 6 months. All right. Uh, I have a feeling that most of you were here for that. If you're more than welcome to stay. Yeah, I closed it already. But if you'd like a chance to bug out, this would be the perfect time to do it.
We came to see the moratorium lifted.
He's taking those comments.
Oh, yeah. You want the agenda?
I'm not gonna see them.
Let me see, let me see if we
Printed any.
let me see if we can get a printed copy.
Yeah. You just want the first page?
Yes. Yeah, Carolyn's writing. It's great.
Okay.
You just want this first page?
Shoreline Public Access.
Oh, what's, yeah. Shoreline. access. And then Park Plaza, November council workshop, and then budget. All kinds of good stuff.
To the woods today.
Oh, we're on that one.
Good.
Sure, if I, little green, fixed up double wide.
I'm really worried about.
I rented the white one there for a while on the divorce. We had all three parcels. It's the last one on that one, coming back on the.
I'm not sure.
It's,
It's a good little spot.
oh, it's a great spot, easy in and out, yeah.
Yeah.
So which parcel did you buy up, Boston?
360.
Bigger parcel they were trying to get in, so right next to Holstrom Road, right?
Is it in Montana?
That far up.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
just, it's before the lodge maintenance area.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's not on the line side. though.
It is.
It is on. Okay. So something near Sean's place.
Not that far up though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where the maintenance. Yeah, I know, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Yeah, all right.
Blackberry farmer for another 6 months.
Yeah, hey, dig some out.
Ben,
Okay, I am passing around a resolution that didn't make it into the online packet. This would sit at the front of the draft Shoreline Integrated Public Access and Trails Plan. This is the project that we had funded by the Department of Ecology to start more proactively providing public access to shoreline areas. Shoreline areas, again, are 200 feet of Rock Cove, the Columbia River, and Rock Creek. And so this planning process had been in place, and it has played out with a recommendation of approval from the Stevenson Planning Commission. More introduction again to the purpose of the plan and why we undertook this to begin with. And I apologize because it's late, but it's part of the story that needs to be told now. So the Shoreline Master Program is a regulatory document. It says when somebody comes in to propose something, these are the criteria that they need to meet. These is what they need to include in their project. If no one proposes anything, well, and one of those criteria is providing public access. If nobody proposes development, no public access is built. We aren't increasing public access to those shoreline areas. So this is a way to more proactively manage how shoreline access is provided. And we've got several projects identified, and they include capital improvement plan. It's all part of this. They can be plugged in as you go in budgets. They can be part of the parks plan that we're currently working on. The two projects that I'll highlight within there, one is on Upper Rock Creek, the falls up there. That's was a community concern that helped justify going into this planning process to begin with. It's an area where there's a lot of trespass. There's an amazing resource there. The community uses it. They trespass in order to do so. Finding a better solution for that was a motivating factor for this. The plan recommends that better solution coming from the north side through publicly owned land and working with the county to better provide that access. It also addresses the south side by saying, let's take control of the internet information that's out there. That's part of the concern right now, is that people are finding it and saying, well, just go up and park at the cemetery and hop the fence and go. So one of the projects says, well, let's stop that and put a city resource out there, pointing them to a more appropriate place.
And thanks for doing that too, by the way.
And another example then on the south side is to say, well, here are a bunch of streets that are too narrow to accommodate travel and parking for those people that are going to the waterfalls. Let's put up the no parking signs and regulate that and prevent that. So that there's motivation again to go to the north side and develop something up there. So accommodating that in a few different ways, three different types of projects or 3 different projects identified within there. And so that was something that was appreciated by those on the south side. And here's a problem, and here's a solution to address our problem. The other project I'll highlight that got a lot of attention is connecting the waterfront to Rock Creek and Rock Cove. And so that one has really building the connection. It focuses on building that connection along Rock Creek, where the Adams Trailer Park currently is, and having a flow through for pedestrians to use that. It also addresses some more conceptual visions for West Cascade Avenue and Bob's Beach area.
Are they talking about with that trail, are they talking about a pedestrian underpass?
The concept that's in there is a bridge over. I think
Okay.
an underpass is probably more feasible, but it's put in there because it's conceptual and there would be money that's associated with that. The public gave this part a lot of attention because the linear feet of a trail across Bob's Beach was about the same as the linear feet of a trail across the Adams Trailer Park. And it wasn't clear where that linear feet was or where the costs were. And so there was a lot of concern from the windsurfer community that we're going to pave
a trail right through Bob's Beach.
Right through Bob's Beach.
I saw that comment, there were multiple comments about that.
Yeah. And then the other concern there was that a sidewalk or a trail along Cascade Avenue would obliterate parking in that area. So both of those things are things that the Planning Commission worked through. They're not part of the plan that's presented to you. There is a direction in that plan to, when something is identified for Bob's Beach area, work with the windsurfer community to make sure that it meshes with the operations there. I'll leave it at those two. So those are all presented for you. The motion, if there was a draft motion in the packet, should be amended to adopt the resolution 2023 419.
I'll move to adopt resolution 2023-419, resolution in the city of Stevenson adopting the integrated shoreline public access and trail plan as presented.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Good job, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
That packet was
Long time
great.
coming.
Like that, that was really well done.
Yeah.
Showing the conceptual, some of those are really cool ideas. So you can play some of that.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's
A lot of hard work.
a lot of hard work. It's nice to bring that to the community and again, have that proactive way that where you all can start budgeting to put your money where your mouth is about doing this too. If there's
Thanks, buddy.
Parts of those areas are areas that I've always thought would be awesome. Get over there and yeah, where you used to have more water access. So. All right, okay.
Park Plaza.
Yay. So we'll be having the kickoff meeting for the Park Plaza project, the first week in October. And as part of that, though, the consultants definitely need to know, sort of a couple of things. One is, how are we going to pay for the project, or what's the budget of the project going to be? And there's two different routes you can go. One is you can set a budget and design to it, or you can just say, this is what we want and build to it, no matter how many phases it takes. And so as council is now managing this project, that's sort of one of the questions. You know, do you want to see it go in phases? Do you want to see it go just be done, one and done? And then if so, what is the budget that you see for that project?
Here's my take on it.
Right.
Are you ready for a take?
Sure.
Since I've been kicking the dog all night. When we started the jail project, it was like, we had a bid of, what was it, 1.2 million. We ended up at 8 or 10 years later at 8.9 million or something like that. I'm for saying, okay, let's get this done and get it done, rather than do this phase and then, okay, we're going to move to this phase then, which is going to means that the cost could be twice as much for the next phase. And I don't like that kind of finances myself. There.
So I would agree. I mean, understand that the longer we take, you know, if we do phase 1 now and then phase 2 in 5 years and phase 3 in 5 years, that prices are clearly going to go up. But at the same time, where are we getting funding for if we're going to do it all in one chunk? The whole idea of doing it in phases is because
we don't have the money.
You don't have the money to do it all at once, like, right? Like that's the concept kind of behind that. We're designing to the end goal. And the end goal, we don't know the answer of how much that's going to be right now. Even if we did it all in one piece, we don't know what the end, if we tell them this is what we want it to be, we don't have the upfront for that today.
So we could probably get $1 million through a federal request.
Mm-hmm.
I figure $1 to $1.5 million through the through RCO.
Can we use the work group? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know how successful we would be with a state direct request as well. I know they asked for 1.5, got 150, but in talking with Representative Waters, he sees a variety of price ranges for projects.
Mm-hmm.
So not to say that 1.5 million could also be asked for there.
Right.
Can we use tourism dollars?
Yes. Depending on how, I'm 95% sure we can use tourism dollars.
And I understand
So
you squeeze the balloon and.
well, we had
means there's-
that in reserves for the tourism funds. And so that, and it is for capital facilities, is set aside. So, and I can definitely see it as a tie into that. And then in talking with the SDA, they haven't done any solid fundraising, but they currently have access to about $75,000 to $100,000 in additional funds, but they do have $100,000 specifically in hand for the construction phase. So that's another, $200,000. I could easily say $500,000 from the tourism fund, if not more than that, but.
Right. I mean, I'm not
So it's-
against doing it all, like saying, we have X amount of dollars, but the idea is if we know what we want, then I I have a hard time going, we know what we want, we need to find out how much that costs.
Yes, exactly.
Like when we know what that, if we, I don't want to
So-
put a
so
cap on it.
there's-
It's like, let's build it, let's design it to 2 million, just throw a number out, design it to 2 million, but we don't get what we were looking to get out of that. You know what I'm saying?
This is part of the process with the, what is it, consultant,
Mhm.
that we're calling them, is to do more public outreach.
Right. And so if council has a set budget in mind that they don't want to go over and they want to build it all at once, you don't want to go out to the public and say, give us your aspirations.
Be like, hey, and then.
And then why didn't you build it?
Right.
So yes, there is a design, but it's from 2015. It kind of started in 2015 and people have kind of forgotten about that process. And there's some concerns about that final design as well. From
So are you looking for a new design?
we're looking at, I mean, that design's conceptual, it's not even 30%, so we're getting shovel-ready plans. And we need to know what it cost.
One of the things that I was thinking about for Mary was putting some, and I mentioned this to Ben, putting some handicap parking there, right there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you
So-
don't have a plan.
Well,
That's what this is for.
That's what we're working on.
That's what we're working on.
Well, yeah, but you know, you can say, oh, I want to build a house. Well, is it gonna wind up costing 300,000 or 500,000?
Yeah.
If you don't have some conception of what you want, how can you get there? And how much money are you gonna spend? I think you do need a public participation policy or a thing for that to see what people want today. Like you said, it's 2015.
And that's what they're doing, but I think to start though, they want to know what direction.
When you say they, you mean the
The
consultant.
consultants.
Yeah.
Because they don't want
they're
to
looking for
propose
direction.
something and then
Yeah.
have council and then have the city not be able to follow through on it, I guess.
Are they looking for public input?
They will be.
So that's gonna kick off first week of October, did you say?
Yes, and I have a meeting with the county commissioners on October 3rd. And the kickoff meeting's October 6th.
October 6th? Is that during the day or is it an evening meeting?
The kickoff meeting is just with specific stakeholders and
Oh,
it's,
okay.
yeah,
All
it's 2 to 3:30. So yeah, no, it's not with the full council.
Okay, we don't need to be there. Okay.
There were some other questions as far as a decision process. So, you know, I'll kind of be bouncing between, so the county we have the lease with the county. So they ultimately have to approve the design as well as council has to approve the design. And then another key stakeholder is the downtown association. So I'll kind of be working with all three of those on trying to figure out various decisions that need to be made throughout that process. So that's just kind of where we're at. So any direction on aspirational or a budget?
Well, I don't,
Or do you want to see what the one is that we have cost?
I think, I mean, I don't know how, like, especially with the funding, like, well, we could get $1.5 million more here, we could maybe get, you know, I think we need to have some kind of idea of like what we're looking for and is gonna be, they're saying it's gonna be this much, and we're like, well, that's not, we need to come up with something else. Or that's great. So,
And I almost see sitting down and, you know, getting a whiteboard out and saying, okay, we're talking, you know, 500,000 from tourism and write that down and so much for here, so much for here. And you get a list of possible funding sources. Take a look at that and then maybe use that as part of the conversation with them. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here now.
And I mean, I know that it's been quite a while since planning was brought to the public, but I don't know. It seems like that we should be able to get some sort of ballpark kind of based on those initial sort of concepts. So we have some sort of idea if that's something that we can actually, you know, say X amount of money should get this done and that's what we'll do, or if we're going to have to do the phases of construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
So
feel like we have enough information to really make that type of decision right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I wish I could give more, like, that's, I don't know. That's the,
What are your thoughts, Leona?
My thoughts are trying to manage this project and also get a committee together for discussion about sewer, honestly. As well as the budget that we need to get going, as well as financing a sewer line project that we received funding for, but no grant funding for, as well as the rate study that we can't get back to because we have all these other projects going on. So that's what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
And so, you know, from my perspective, I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
But again,
well, I
you know,
would say,
and so the consultants gave a number of about $800,000 to design what we currently have.
Right.
And that, and typically your design is 30% of your budget. So, that gives you a better, and they, you know, one of the expensive things, you know, of course, all of the columnar basalt, and also the bathrooms that are built into the wall, you know, the structural engineer is like, I gotta be on this on day one because they want to do what? So, again, there's some design concepts that may be value engineered. I'm not sure but if we don't want to, we just want that as the design, that decision needs to be made as well. So do we want it to be exactly what was there? Changes maybe, but like, do we want the columnar basalts? Do we want it all landscaped? Do we want the inset amenities? So those are kind of the decisions that need to be made before we can.
When this presentation was put to the public in 2015, we weren't this far along. It was concept.
Right.
And it was something to show, to trot out in front of the commissioners and to city council to like, hey, we need your permission for what? We haven't got that far yet. So now we have some concepts. And so of course, everybody wants the Cadillac with all the bells and whistles.
Right.
Of course they do. But now that we're further along and we're actually getting down in the nitty gritty of what it's going to cost and what we're going to get for it and how long it's going to take.
and
if-
inflation has gone up.
if it is a city administrator over having to balance this project over the next 15 years.
Yeah.
Then it is time to take another closer look at what, all right, public.
Yeah.
This is probably what we can afford.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah.
So personally, I say build what we want the first time, but it may not be that project, that scope.
Yeah. It may not be that fancy.
No, we can get some of the components that have been attractive all along.
Yes.
The courtyard that could potentially hold a farmer's market, a water feature of some kind, a place to potentially put in a tree. It might not be the entire lawn.
Right.
It might keep the steps, but amphitheater that we could actually use. So that's a dig. But I think that given the opportunity, we'll find, because we have never been this far along before. It's never been rubber to the road. This is the first time. So I have a feeling that when we start guiding, working on the design, it's not going to be that.
It's not gonna
That's
be
my
as
opinion.
elaborate as what was originally dreamt up.
Yes.
So what does Leon do then at this?
I can present that to the
Snaps your pencil,
consultants.
goes home mad.
Depends on what you say on the budget.
I want to talk to you after the meeting. Oh, man.
So I guess we still have been talking in circles.
Yeah, yeah,
Do it all at
it's
once,
fine.
but we don't know for what.
I'll figure it out.
No, this isn't allowed.
Okay, so does everyone have their calendars out?
I do.
Can
And in
do.
fact, I actually looked at mine
Mhm.
and I've got for some reason, I've got a city council meeting on November 8th and a city council meeting on the 16th. I don't know why I have those dates in my calendar already.
I do too.
I think it was
16.
because of originally, those were the dates that we chose.
We talked about it.
Yeah, because
Oh,
of,
look at that.
because of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we all went through our, that was a couple months ago, we all went through our calendars. I don't know if that's still at.
Is it not because of Fair Board?
What's that, Christie?
I think it's because of the Fair Board.
Yeah, I think I moved all of the dates except for that one. I think I kept that one, knowing that I wasn't gonna change it to Thanksgiving. Because I also have a council meeting on Thanksgiving. So Christy, does that November 8th still work for you, or is Fair Board still meeting in November?
They are, but I think I'm gonna step down, so we can do whatever.
Okay,
But Thanksgiving is I've got
Okay.
3 meetings that month. I've got one scheduled on Thanksgiving and then the other.
okay, so we'll put it to November 8th. And confirmed, and that will be just on the budget.
Okay.
Deep dive.
Over,
Right. And then, since everyone has their calendars out, quick change up.
Are we doing the 16th too then?
Yes, and the 16th, yeah, that's
Okay,
regular.
Okay.
It's
good.
been a joy. The Southern Comfort is called.
Okay.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mary.
Jesus. So let's see,
I'll swing by
the joint fire meeting, next week.
Next week. yeah.
There is a commissioner that will not be able to attend, so I am looking at the first 2 weeks in October to see what everyone's availability is, and I'll send out a doodle poll to the commissioners as well on that.
I'm good on either the 5th or the 12th.
Okay, so can't do, no, so October 9th and October 12th are out, by the way.
Okay, well,
Okay, how about the 5th?
the 5th works for me. The 10th doesn't work for me, but the 5th works. And I know no one said the 10th. I'm just throwing it out there because it's that week that nobody else can do that.
October
works
10th
for
does
me.
not. What was that?
5th is
The
what we're
5th.
looking at.
The 5th works for me also.
Ooh, we're coming together.
I think the
I'm in.
fifth works for me. Yeah.
For you?
I don't have to go to it. No. Can I get some other backup dates just in case the commissioners can't make the 5th?
I can't do the 12th. That's my only.
How about the 11th?
The 11th. That works for me.
I'm good with the 11th.
Mayor?
I'm in. Yeah, I
David?
said I had the one requirement.
Yes, the 11th is good as well.
Okay. Sweet. If there's any other issues, I'll go from there.
And then you'll let us know which date
Mhm.
for sure. Okay.
Yes, I will.
Well, that was easy.
Okay.
All right. See how this one goes.
And that's how you do it.
Okay.
Yes, this is like some sort of punishment for having super short meetings 3 months in a row.
Yep, are you ready?
So what can I do to help you get before we go any further, get the committee going? What would you like me to do? Do you want to?
Really want to start that with this agenda
should
that's still
probably-
hanging?
I'm like, can I talk to you tomorrow?
Okay, okay.
Because this just reminded me of the fire stuff too that got thrown on. So
Okay.
yeah, that's, we'll just, I need
Okay.
tomorrow,
Well, just know that
maybe Monday.
maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm going to be
Yeah.
heading into Portland.
Yeah.
early Monday or tomorrow mornings.
Okay, well, I think staff is gonna get together tomorrow. We'll come back on.
Then you let me know what I need to do to help you do that. Okay.
Okay,
All right. Oh, boy.
You let me know what you need, Dave, as well.
will do. So the budget. We have some decisions to make. And it's so at this point in time, I just need direction on what information you need to make a decision. How's that? So in looking at the budget, there are a couple of things. So there's 2 staff members that are added, and one's not necessarily an add. We had it in the budget to have a part-time person for streets, and then they were going to Cascade Locks, Port of Cascade Locks for the other part-time, to where it was a full-time position, but we recouped half the costs.
Right.
And the nature of the work is slightly different between the 2. And so we wanted to reassess and see if we could hire someone full-time for that position flat out. And so that's in the budget. Also in the budget, and kind of ties on to the fire department discussion, is a full-time fire chief. And that does a couple of things. One is Rob's been wanting to retire for a while. The other one is, out of the strategic plan, there was a recommendation for staff to be hired to help implement some of the policies and other items out of that strategic plan. So
What's
that
it?
position would,
Full-time?
in the budget, it's full-time fire chief. In talking with staff, it's been a challenge to figure out how to make that a dual purpose position, like part-time chief, part-time, whatever. Well, yes, part-time Department of Emergency Management. I mean, in the end, it all comes out of the general fund. So that's sort of where I was getting at, was with the changes to the budget with the sheriff's contract and with the addition of this staff member, we are exceeding our revenues by $190,000 for this year. We are okay this year and next year, but in 2026, we start getting close to not being able to meet our financial policy of 10% of costs. And then definitely in 2027, it's a negative. So it just, because we're eating into our reserves.
Sure.
So trying to figure out how to balance it all.
Sure.
And with that fire chief position, there also, I did not put any cost reimbursement for Fire District 2. The other question that I have, regardless of if it's just, so let's just say it's just a fire chief. In talking with some other neighboring cities and city managers, $200,000 is about the going rate for salaries and benefits for a full-time fire chief with experience.
And the next question is, do you have enough to keep him busy full-time?
Right. So
What's that?
or her. So the question is,
Keep the old guy. on.
right. So we need to make sure that the job description is something that people can do, that we can hire people for, and that we pay them enough.
Yes.
So.
Was Rob out?
He wants
trying
it
to-
to-
Wants
Yeah,
out real
trying to.
bad.
So, again, that's a bigger discussion within the fire.
Yeah, I think we need to have that discussion with the fire. commissioner.
Right. But
I saw it in there as a line item, and I was like, I bet you we talk about this.
yes, that's one of them. Sorry, I'm pulling up the note of.
I don't know if there's much that we really need to discuss about the budget.
Well, no, so again, just things to think about. Those were 2 staff changes. items not included include an undergrounding plan, which would be about $100,000 to get 30% plans. The design of an additional gravel road development. So again, that's being pushed off. In the CIP, we had Ash Alley to be planned and designed this year, and then kind of constructed designed in 24 and then constructed in 25-ish. The one thing that I didn't put on here was the general sewer plan that we've been talking about doing. That's not in the budget. And I think we estimated like $80,000 for that. It's kind of a general-ish. And so that's not in the sewer budget. And then we also have Cascade Avenue utility upgrades and the Public Works Board loan. That project is not in the budget. That we didn't get in the application. We put in documents requesting a distressed rate, which would be a lower rate, and a potential grant. We didn't get either, and I haven't had a chance to do a debrief with them. So it's full rates, but it's still like 1.76% interest and no grant. And it's right now it's for that full $2.2 million because we didn't get any federal grant. And that hasn't been worked into the rates study just yet. But that's also not included in the budget. And with those items not even in the budget, again, I already mentioned the general fund. The street fund is short $113,000. The water sewer fund is short $207,000, and the equipment services fund is short $98,000. So 24 for 24. So those are the things that I need you to think about and look at. And then if we still want to have our meeting next week, a special meeting or a workshop, do we want to talk about this, or do we want to not have a meeting next week? We were going to have it. It would have been on.
Would have been the fire meeting, right?
It would have been the fire meeting, but also initially when I set up the meetings, it was training, and so the training was going to be on. I try to make it on budget. Budgeting basics is what it was going to be on, but it's.
Well, why don't we
it's a
try to
webinar.
hammer? Why don't we try to hammer this out on Thursday?
Okay. Okay.
I mean, that seems like the most logical thing we need to be doing right now. Get that off your plate.
Yes.
And I'm not at my best right now.
No, I know. That's what I'm like, things to think about in the memo.
I'm in
So
the rapid eye movement right now.
That's the gist of everything in the memo.
Oh.
There you go.
How I talked to you tonight was probably a little bit off. It was just, it goes over my head all night.
Oh, no.
I'm like, feel weird today.
Well, see, I'm dealing with vertigo right now, so
Oh, sorry.
yeah, it's when I was watching over here, and then I'd move back over here, everything just kind of goes. Guess it's all on my left side.
Back on that cruise again.
Yeah, no, it's worse on the cruise.
All right.
Really made my calendar for next week. Yeah, I know.
You sure don't.
Wow.
Because it was going to be a joint fire meeting. So I didn't put it on.
What if it's budget?
But if it's budget, can you?
When is it 6?
Yeah.
You sure like that sweatshirt. Well, you can sure see her, can't you?
That's the idea.
She's ready for hunting season.
I always see that. I can
Yeah, I
tell
think you
this-
need to.
this, you guys driving by, I'm like.
I know. It's awesome.
Girls.
All right, staff report.
Men and women.
Please keep the time in mind.
Need to use
Staff
my
reports.
bottle.
Next staff report.
Go ahead.
I feel like we've already had the staff reports.
Oh, we.
Gosh, seems like it does.
Okay.
Very happy to be done with one project, the shoreline access plan. So thank you. There are others in the queue and going. So there's no shortage. We'll be happy when Shindir a final decision is made on that one, and we can turn the effort into houses and new community leaders. So
Never gonna happen.
Parking was done, initial data started, been crunched for that, so the Thursday was busier than the Saturday for those 2 dates that we had. So again, just 2 more data points to add to it. Thursday was busier. Midday is our busiest time. It's not in the evening.
Yeah, it's crazy downtown during lunchtime.
Downtown wide, never were we more than 51% full. Individual blocks, different story. But there's incredible reserve of parking to use for the different people that want this.
Just have to walk.
Subcommittee and planning commission will be evaluating the data and presenting you with actions based on that data too. So happy about that. Michael, we'll see you tomorrow. For
And would you pass on to the planning commission, just give them our thanks? Because I know that sometimes that's a thankless job and they do a lot of work, so pass that on to them, please.
Carol?
Doing further review of the water capacity plan, looking at the well in Rock Creek. Stress test for the well came in at $10,000. So I was gonna see if I can find some funds for that project. So I'm turning over a couple rocks before I said, looks like we're paying for that. Wastewater upgrades continue. Pump station project pre-construction meetings next week. Stormwater fall rain is coming, so the guys will start cleaning up catch basins in preparation for that. You guys saw the striping with the streets. We are gonna do about 8 trees downtown, and next year we're gonna pursue a grant for the remaining ones. And the equipment, last month we surplused a couple, we made $6,000. On the personnel side, we have CDL training coming in for the next couple of weeks. We've got 4 crew members who will be taking those. We're also working on bringing in AC pipe training because, again, a lot of new staff. We've been we plan to work with the county. Some of the county folks are joining the CDL training. I would expect some of them would join AC pipe training, or PD maybe would join AC pipe training if we brought that in house. We have 2 new hires. Cody Rosander was selected for our wastewater treatment plant operator 1, and John Schultz is the new utility maintenance worker.
Thank you.
That.
Nepotism in there, huh?
Nope, no, not supervising.
Okay.
He's an-
Kind of jumped on that as fast.
No,
as I said it.
Well, we went through we have changed our application process to where the people reviewing the applications do not see the names or a lot of identifying information of the people who, and so for both positions, the people reviewing them did not see them, and the people that were reviewing the applications were not in any way related to anyone. So Anders was the one that was collecting all of the applications and checking to make sure that whoever applied, like their references. And we ask also, are you related to anyone that works here? And so Anders made sure that if there was someone related, that they weren't on any of either the review committee or the interview team. So we're trying to improve. So trust me.
All right. That was a quick jump, yes.
Our final date,
Yeah.
like the,
Bringing it online.
next August.
August.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
You're gonna get the electrical gear by December?
I don't know, but yeah, I don't think we ever plan to get electrical gear, but it's,
No, it's just,
like May.
Great job on the supporting documents for the workshop.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. She's been rocking it with GIS.
With that, but
Isn't
I
that
definitely
awesome?
got the,
Been working really hard with Grant.
That's great. If you need any of my GIS books, you're more than welcome to them.
Yeah.
Good news, bad news, good news. The financial and single audit is done.
All right,
Bad news, accountability audit has a finding.
all right. Well, you gotta
So-
give them something.
So
I
bad.
thought we were trying for no fun.
What did the finding?
There was a law change in 2017 that required a piece of paper that every responsible bidder needs to sign, saying that they have not been banned or disbarred from state jobs for the past 3 years.
Really?
Yep,
And this was something that was not
Yep.
discovered since then.
right.
So,
So
so
So,
five
so-
years
and
later-
because we had,
from
because-
217 on?
because we
2017?
haven't, well, they looked at 3 projects. So it was Main D, Cascade Interceptor, and Stellar J. And in all 3 of those, we
Crest one
didn't
too?
ask them to sign that piece of paper.
Okay. What
They
if?
signed a bunch of other stuff, but not that specific one.
So
Is that
other
what we came after
entities have been hit.
Yes.
So-
same thing. So they were clearly looking.
Look-
Well,
Yeah.
the impact that it has on us though is on funding. So
Right.
we can't, it's
You
a
have to show that
ding.
There's a finding.
It's a ding.
Yeah.
So it drops our score down when we go after financing or funding, in
Sometimes that is the
anything.
barrier
And
to
so,
entry. Oh, finding.
right,
See us when it's gone.
right. And it won't be gone now because they have staffing issues for 2 years.
Oh, it's 2 years. So yeah, we'll probably be chatting with our representative about our,
Yeah.
So,
experience this go
Is there a
around.
way to,
so we also have to
Can it
update our
expunge?
policies and procedures and make sure that we have a checklist and just make sure everything's a little bit more robust. So again, when more things are added to the plate, these are.
What's next?
But it's also things that we miss, when we're busy and we don't see anything. That was all I had.
well,
I would
thank you
entertain a
for all
motion.
your hard work.
I would entertain a motion to approve the vouchers.
I can make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented.
Second,
First and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 I beat you, Christie.
I know, you tried.
Okay, anything from council for the greater good?
And we're still, just so you know, we are still meeting on the annexation. stuff.
Okay.
So I got a meeting tomorrow with Ben and a couple of guys from the planning commission, so.
Perfect.
That is
And-
still happening. It didn't just get dropped. It just takes a while. So
And at some point, we're gonna be meeting on the tourism committee.
See, again, things that keep getting dropped is I keep forgetting to send out the notifications. So that will be on my list tomorrow.
that's all I have.
Anything that the group would like to see on the agenda for the next meeting? Meeting adjourned. Good night.
Awesome. Thank you all for putting up.
Bye,
with me.
guys.
Bye.